Color guard, attention. Color guard, forward, march. Color guard, prepare to post colors. Audience, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Color guard, post colors. Color guard, reform. Color guard, dismissed. Audience may be seated.
Okay, Liz,
That's better.
that's great. Could you please read the video statement?
This meeting of the Galt City Council is being videotaped in its entirety and will be cablecast without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the Government Affairs channel on the Comcast and SureWest cable systems. Tonight's meeting can be seen on Channel 14 and will also be webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv this Friday and Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Tonight's meeting can also be seen via live video streaming on the city's website at www.ci.galt.ca.us. A DVD copy is also available for checkout from any library branch. Members of the audience wishing to address council should fill out a speaker identification form and give it to the clerk. Please speak into the microphone when addressing council and state your name for the record.
Thank you. Are there any agenda approvals, additions, and/or deletions, council? None.
I actually have two quick committee appointments.
Okay,
If we can move those up.
okay, that'll work.
Maybe right after presentation.
Pardon me.
Right after presentation.
Whatever's good for you. Okay, so we'll do the committee appointments right after the presentation. So that brings us to the presentation, the Liberty Ranch High School Agriculture Class Future Farmers of America Grant.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Haley Clement, and I'm one of the ag teachers at Liberty Ranch High School. And this past year, we are lucky enough to receive a grant from the National FFA organization to help fund our agri-science project program. And so at Liberty Ranch, all the agriculture science students have to do an agri-science project, kind of like science fair. And so they have to form a hypothesis, write an experimental procedure, test the procedure, collect data, analyze the results, and then write a scientific paper and create a display board. And then if they have a good enough project, they can actually move on to compete at the state FFA competitions in the spring at different universities. And we have a few students here who would like to share their results of their project and kind of tell you guys what they did. And then one of the major goals of the grant was to promote environmental awareness through agriculture and environmental research projects. So a couple of them are environmentally related, and I think they're just going to go into the middle and show you their board. Is that okay?
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
First we have Haley Avery.
Hi, Haley.
Hi, Abby.
How
How about
both?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Actually, there's a microphone right there. There's there you go.
There we go.
My project was investigating urban and agriculture effects on Dry Creek's water quality. I tested for pH, nitrate, ammonia, and phosphate, and I took 4 samples in 4 different locations, three times each year. So I did it 2012, 2013, and I presented it in 2014. Once I started testing, my focus became if pollution is detected, Is it harmful urban living such as drainage pipes, or is it harmful farming techniques such as pesticides and fertilizers? Once I concluded my project, it showed that there was no pollution and the animals consuming the potential harmful water was not affected. Thank you.
Can I see
Yeah,
the,
could you just turn it this way for a little second? Oh, that's very nice.
wow, that's nice.
So even if, though there was pollution in the water, it didn't affect the animals?
There was no pollution
There
when I
was.
tested for those four
Oh.
categories. So it is safe for animal consumption, and it's not recommended for human consumption because I didn't
Right.
test it in other categories.
Oh, great.
Right.
Thank you.
Very nice.
How many sample sites did you have?
I had 4 sample sites. It was Bosso Road, Consumeness Preserve, Strike Creek Golf Course, and Lincoln and Cost at the Wildlife Preserve.
Oh,
Did you see
okay.
any difference in the results from the different test sites?
There was more animal tracking in underneath bridges like Consumeness Preserve and the Dry Creek Golf Course, so there was a little bit of animal pollution. And also where
Nitrates, you mean?
yeah, as well as at Lincoln and Cost, there was a lot of homeless living, so there was a lot of trash in the creek,
Right.
so that also
Right.
contributed to the pollution. But it was helpful, healthy amounts due to the EPA's regulations, the Environmental Protection Agency.
Thank
That's
you
a
very
long,
much.
that's very good, it's a
That
long-term
is
project.
good.
Yeah.
It's good work.
And continue it next year, hopefully
Awesome.
go to
Good
NAS.
girl.
Good,
That's awesome.
Mhm.
good job.
Thank you.
All right, so my project investigated the effect of feed on chicken egg weight and number. And I chose this project because I wanted to find out which type of feed would enable my own flock of chickens to be able to lay the most and largest eggs. So what I basically did was I chose 2 feed types, which were layer pellets and free range, and I fed them to my own flock of chickens for a period of 14 days and recorded the differences between the 2 feed types afterwards. So the results from my experiment were that the free range category had more eggs but they weighed less, and that the layer pellets category had less eggs but they weighed more. And that is because though the free range category gives them enough nutrients to be able to lay the eggs, the layer pellet is a complete feed, which gives them a larger burst of nutrients at one time, which makes them be able to lay a larger egg, and so therefore they can't lay as many. So it makes sense that the layer pellet would have less eggs if they would weigh more. As far as as well as producing more eggs, the free range category was also a lot more cost effective. See, 1 bag of purine and scratch grain costs $12, and I used a total of 3, while 1 bag of layer pellets costs $15, and I used a total of 4. Though it's cost effective for me and my small farm, it might not be necessarily cost effective and able to be implemented in large corporate farming, because they might not have enough space to range their chickens, so they might have to use layer pellets anyway. All in all, my experiment was successful in helping me find out which type of feed would enable my chickens to lay more eggs and help me get more food.
Great. Good.
Was there any difference in the quality of the eggs?
Yeah, there actually was, but I wasn't measuring that in my experiment.
Mhm.
But you notice that the free range, as far as the people that I sold them to, they preferred the eggs that I produced with the free range category compared to the category.
Would they,
What was the other category?
Which one?
Not the free range?
The layer pellet category. It uses a specific feed called layer pellets.
Oh, layer pellets.
It's a synthetic feed where they put all the nutrients into like a pellet.
Oh.
would that be like organic versus non-organic?
Kind of,
Okay, so that's why more were,
yeah.
And these chickens, were they specific to Plymouth Barred Rocks or,
No,
Okay.
that's one thing that I would change if I were to do it next year.
Okay.
They were actually my own flock, which was actually mixed breed. So I want to buy 14 chickens right now so that they could grow up and I could do the same experiment next year.
what kind would you buy?
Rhode Island Red,
Rhode Island Reds?
yeah.
I like those too, yeah.
Great.
Those are her
Good.
names.
Yes, sir, absolutely, good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good, thank you.
Keep those grants coming. You guys are doing a great
Yeah,
job.
real good, yeah.
Oh, yeah, one more.
What's
One
up?
more.
Here we go.
my name is Haven Holtz, and my project was investigating the effects of metal cation pollutants on lichens. And lichens are a crust-like material that grows on rocks and plants, and they're also known as like bioindicators that can test pollutants in the air, and certain lichens will show up in the environment whether some pollutants are there or not. And I used a kit for this, and I had to take the lichens and put them in different test tubes full of different pollutant solutions. And my hypothesis was if various pollutants are tested on lichens, then an iron chlorine pollutant will affect the lichen the most. And overall, my hypothesis was correct. And what's up? Do you have any questions?
Good. Turn it around, let's see what's got here.
Where did you collect the lichens?
The lichen came in a kit, and it
Oh,
was
they did?
Oh,
yeah,
did.
it was
Oh,
like
okay.
a piece of tree bark that was covered in lichens. So I had to peel them off and sort them out for the number that was for each test tube.
Oh, great.
And the iron was tested as an indicator that you would find when there is pollution, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So a certain lichen will be present if there is or isn't a pollutant in that environment.
I see.
Okay, okay.
Very good.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
Appreciate it.
Okay, now we're gonna go up to the committee appointments, Liz.
Okay, we'll start with the Historic Preservation Advisory Committee. And the HPAC Committee, we have 2 openings, plus we also have a opening from the Planning Commission that I'm working with Mr. Stewart on right now to fill that vacancy as well. But tonight we have 2 vacancies, one from the Historical Society and 1 member at large. I have, in your packet, there are 2 letters of interest, one filling the Historical Society vacancy from Ida Denier, and 1 member at large from Eric Shiners, who I believe is here tonight. Yes, there he is. Stand up, Eric. So tonight I would ask to make appointments to the Historic Preservation Advisory Committee or to give staff further direction. This is a council appointment by the entire council.
so moved.
Second.
Call for the vote, please, Liz.
Vice Mayor Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
Aye.
Mayor Powers?
Aye. And thank you,
Okay.
you're on the committee
4-0.
now.
Thank you, sir.
We
Thank you, Eric.
appreciate your commitment.
Yes, and Ida actually was an incumbent who is returning. Eric is new, and kind of out of the blue said something with interest to this committee, which coincided with the fact that we were filling a vacancy. We had a vacancy, so that was great to get his letter. The next committee is the Relocation Appeals Board. And the purpose of this committee is to hear complaints due to relocation with the redevelopment agency, in provision with the California Relocation Assistance Law. We have 2 letters of interest. These were terms ending. They're from the 2 incumbents who currently sit on the committee, Martha Fornes and Rose Levine. They wish to re-up for this committee. We haven't really had a need for it, but we're hoping down the road that we will.
Yes, we
Yeah.
are.
So,
Second.
Call for the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
Aye.
Mayor Powers?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Liz, would you please now read the public comment?
Under Government Code, Section 54954.3, members of the public may address the council on non-agenda items. Speakers may address council on any agenda item during consideration of the item. Speakers shall restrict their comments to issues that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council and limit comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Please fill out a speaker sheet located on the table inside the entrances to the council chambers and forward the completed speaker sheet to the city clerk. Patrick O'Flaherty? Sure. Maria Elena Rodriguez Spencer.
Good evening. My name is Maria Elena Rodriguez Barrison, and I have lived in Galt for 9 years. I, as well as others, are concerned about the safety of our residents and our guests. Therefore, I put a petition together and gathered signatures. This is the petition. We, the citizens of Galt, petition the city to install a four-way stop sign at the intersection of Walnut Avenue and Elk Hills Drive. It is imperative that the safety of our citizens of all ages become a priority as they cross the intersection, whether it is a pedestrian, a cyclist, or a driver. Increased traffic from Liberty Ranch High School, McCaffrey Middle School, and Marengo Ranch Elementary School, combined with district transportation cuts, blind spots, and broken and obscured safety equipment, magnifies the escalating problem that an accident or a fatality is bound to occur. We insist the City Council take action and rectify the problem immediately by installing a four-way stop intersection at Elk Hills Drive and Walnut Avenue. Each day, as people rush to school and or work, there are near misses of people getting hit. We have been lucky so far. I realize that a study needs to be done. The peak times are obviously before school and after school gets out. Obviously, the ideal time to conduct a study would be while school is in session during the academic year. Obviously, we're in May, and we have one more month of school. We are hoping the study can be fast-tracked, and then a stop sign can be installed by August when the school year begins again. In advance, I thank you for your help in this matter. I would hate for a tragic accident to happen that could have been avoided. And here's my
Excuse me,
signature.
can you tell me the Elk Hills and where again?
Walnut.
And Walnut, okay.
Like,
Thank you very much. Patrick?
Well, Patrick has something to say on it.
On the same issue,
Okay,
I believe.
come on, Patrick.
Thank you, Council. Patrick O'Flaherty. On the same issue that Elena brought to your attention tonight, I live just, probably a quarter of a mile, not even that far short at the fire station there at that intersection. I see the kids walking every day. The vehicle traffic on Walnut is the primary problem because that's where there's not a stop sign. We have them on Elk Hills on both sides of the street. I've seen the crosswalk guards almost be struck by vehicles where people are just moving too fast and not paying attention as to what's going on there. You've got students there, you've got the fire trucks coming in and out for access there, you've got pedestrians that she noted to your attention. And what she provided you tonight is, just the top of the barrel of only 200, slightly more than 200 signatures of just people that are primarily living in the neighborhood immediately adjacent to that intersection. It doesn't even take into effect the people on the west side of town that are driving their kids over to the middle school and stuff. That there's a greater population that's being impacted as that road gets utilized, and it involves not just us over on the east side of town, but also across town here on the west also. So we just would ask the city to pay particularly attention to this and take it under, consideration as something that is a substantive problem now and is only going to get worse, like she said, in the event that somebody gets hit by a car or killed by a car. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
Excuse me a second, I just want to make sure I get this straight. You said you need a stop sign at Elk Hills and at Walnut?
Currently, Elk Hills and Walnut intersect at where the fire station is, right at the end of the community park. At the east end of the community park where the fire station is.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so currently there is a stop sign on Elk Hills, on both sides of Elk Hills as it crosses Walnut. There's not a stop sign on Walnut as it crosses over Elk Hills.
Oh, I see.
That's where the definitive need is.
Okay, I see.
To slow traffic and to provide some additional safety there and stuff. I mean, I think once you guys do your traffic study, if it's done, kind of stealthily, you'll see a lot of traffic violations and near misses there and stuff that would cause you concern.
And it's where the kids are going to school, right?
It's
There,
where the
everybody
kids are going to
turn left and
school,
go to
Liberty
you know,
Ranch and all that.
Yeah,
that-
you know, so you have both high school, middle
Right.
school, and
Right.
elementary school, as she pointed out to you.
Yeah.
Plus, you know, we have a lot of elderly people that utilize the park that cross over Walnut, and some of them are, you know, using motorized wheelchairs. They're moving slow, people on bicycles. So, you know, there's a lot of things out there other than just other vehicles that play into this that are at a greater risk than somebody else in a car with an airbag and a seatbelt.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Jason, can you look into it, take it to the appropriate person and report back to us of what's, please?
Yes, I think we've done some studies at the intersection in the past, so I'm not sure how recent it was and what time of the day it was done, so I don't know if Glenn or Steve, you guys want to chime in on that intersection?
Well, I'll defer to Glenn on the technicalities, but I would just indicate that the normal hue and cry from the public is, we need four-way stops, we need more stop signs to deal with speeding. And I'm hearing that again tonight. Stop signs are not the best tool and can actually cause more likelihood of a fatal accident if used improperly. So what we will look at is the amount of traffic, times of day, the amount of cross traffic, accident histories, visibility and curves coming into and out of the intersection, and can put together some recommendations. But normally just adding stop signs does not necessarily make children safer. In fact, there are studies that will show that children have a false sense of security when they have a crosswalk. Why the crosswalk has the right of way, they don't look. Whereas if they know cars may not be stopping, they're more attentive.
Well, yeah, guards.
Sounds like we need some speed enforcement and probably can work with crossing guards, but we are certainly, we'll take a look at this and do the appropriate studies, come back to you with some recommendations.
Sorry, I'm not sure about protocol on this. I just have to let you know, I did actually videotape over a year ago when I first started this entire process, and yes, it's taken me a year to gather everything together. The problem is the majority of that equipment doesn't work. The crossing lights don't work, the flashing lights don't work, or if they do work, they are obstructed by a tree. So it is something that, and then the other big thing is too, if you are on Elk Hills heading, I don't even know what that is, south, I guess, towards Marengo, you have to inch out into the intersection across the crosswalk to be able to see people coming from Marengo to Corellia. And I just got stopped by another parent 2 days ago, just saying, I almost got hit again. When are you going to go to the council meeting? So here I am. So, it was wonderful that you guys put all that crossing guard, flashing lights, and all that kind of stuff. But when the crossing guards were there every morning, almost risked their life, and they're the ones who are the first people who signed my petition because they risk it. And I get the whole false sense of security about stop signs. If the stop sign doesn't work, then maybe a stoplight. I don't know, but something has to be done to correct the problem.
Thank you.
So we will look into that. We thank the audience participants for being vigilant on public safety, because that's obviously our number one concern as well.
Yeah.
We'll be bringing back some recommendations in the future for you.
I would ask too if we could notify the police department of what was brought up this evening, enforcement.
We can do some
He's in the
speed
back.
enforcement
There he
along
is.
there.
Thank you.
And thank you, Patrick, and thank you. I forgot your first name. Thank you very much for bringing it to our attention. Okay, where am I at? The consent calendar.
Yeah.
Could you please read that, Liz?
Okay, we have 5 items tonight. The first one, approval of the minutes of the special and regular meetings of April 15th, 2014. Number 2, approval of the City of Galt warrants. Number 3, an amendment number 4 to the agreement for South County Transit Link, sharing of responsibilities and costs related to Connect Card services. Number 4, intent to renew Galt's cooperation agreement with Sacramento County Housing and Redevelopment Agency to act as the city's agent regarding the administration of the city's community development block grant activities. And number 5, resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a memorandum of understanding with North Central Texas Council of Governments and Vigilant Solutions participation in the Law Enforcement Analysis Portal Program.
Do I have a motion?
And I apologize, but I would like to discuss just briefly number 4
Okay.
and 5, if that's possible.
4 and 5?
Yes, please.
All right, you're on.
I didn't, under 4, on the CDBG, is that now done through Public Works? That was my question. It is, it's now administered through them. Oh, okay, that's a recent change then?
In the last year?
Yeah, about a year ago, we met with, the former, community development director, and since a lot of the projects were more CIP related.
I think it's a good move. Good move.
We negotiated that change.
That's a good move.
So Tony owes me one.
I think you owe him one. Under 5, and that's all I had, it was just a change. Under 5, I see no costs for this, entering into this MOU, other than, I guess if there are software programs that the city may look at undertaking in the future. So my question really is I guess if there is no cost to enter into this MOU?
No, there is no cost. Brian, the Susie Lieutenant with the Police Department, no cost. What it is, it has to do with our license plate readers.
Okay.
Vigilant Solutions is the provider of our cameras, and so the Texas Council has a program where they're opening their portal to share their data. So basically, it's just expanding the data that we would receive when our license plate readers are turned on.
Okay, because I never saw license plate readers in the staff report, so I was confused as to what the specific purpose was.
Yes.
And then you can, apparently, from what it says, you can input your data that can be utilized by other agencies as well?
Absolutely. So it's a two-way sharing data. We can put wanted vehicles, stolen vehicles, wanted persons attached to those license plate readers.
In reading through it, it says that, say you obtain information from a different agency that has provided the baseline information to the system. But then it also goes on to say that you need to verify with that agency first the information or the data that's received prior to, I guess, acting on whatever information you're going to see in the field. Is that correct?
That is correct. Like any warrant or any wanted information, it has to be confirmed. We can go ahead and detain and put the handcuffs on somebody, but before we actually book somebody into jail and take their delivery away, we have to confirm the information.
That makes much more sense, because it didn't make sense it would be a time saver if you couldn't take advantage of it. No, it looks like a good system though. It was interesting that it was out of Texas though. How did you come across this?
Vigilant Solutions has partnered with this council, and they recommended that we sign the MOU and share that data as well.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we'll vote on it all as a whole now.
Yes.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the consent calendar, please?
So moved.
Second.
Can I call for the vote? Can I? Call for the vote, Liz.
Vice Mayor Siegel?
Aye.
Councilmember Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
Aye.
Mayor Powers?
Aye. Okay, scheduled matters. Amendment to the Downtown Revitalization and Historic Preservation Specific Plan Table 1 Land Use Matrix to permit wine tasting in the commercial land use areas. And that's to you, Mr. Stewart.
Great. Thank you, Mayor and Council. As Mayor Powers pointed out, this is an amendment to the Downtown Revitalization and Historic Preservation Specific Plan to allow wine tasting. This is a staff-initiated project. However, we have since received some interest from a local winery, the Barsetti Winery, and actually the Barsettis are here in the audience this evening in case you want to have any questions or whatnot for them. They weren't preparing to actually make a presentation to you, but just in case they are here. So our downtown plans, we like to call it, so I don't have to fill out the whole spiel there. And Liz, could you put this up on the screen, please?
I'm sorry.
wondered what Steve was mumbling.
A little dark there. There we go.
Sorry, I didn't have it.
Thank you. Anyway, the downtown plan was adopted in 1995, and it basically provides the vision for the development and redevelopment of improvements in the downtown area. The particular land use districts that we're focusing in on here is the Historic Preservation, or HBD, district, which is the the Historic Business District, which is the pinker one, and then the commercial, which is the red. Currently, wine tasting is allowed in the HBD land use district, but not in the commercial. The commercial is actually more of a general type of land use district that allows a wider variety of commercial uses, including most of the uses that the HBD allows as well. The Barsettis were actually interested in locating in the Galt Place, which is there in the middle of the screen there, which is actually in the commercial district right now. As you're aware, Galt Place and other businesses along the street there, provide a variety of uses, restaurants and whatnot, and wine tasting rooms would be basically a good match, staff feels, with those restaurants. The other nice thing about this is that wine tasting has, of course, taken hold in Lodi and in other communities, and we also have vineyards and whatnot. So the purpose of this is not only to allow the Barsettis to come in, but also just to put Galt on the map, hopefully, as also a wine tasting district. And so with that, this is the existing land use matrix. As you can see, wine tasting is currently not allowed in the commercial, but is in the HBD district. And this is simply what we're proposing, to add the wine tasting to the land use matrix in the commercial land use district. And with that, staff does recommend that the council adopt a resolution to amend the land use matrix, as you see there, to allow wine tasting in the commercial land use area. And with that, I have open to any questions.
Okay, council, I'm going to open for the public first and then come back to you guys, if that's all right. Okay, so I'm going to open for the public hearing. Is there any testimony out there that anyone would like? Come on down now.
I wasn't going to say anything.
You always start off that way.
Al Baldwin, a concerned citizen of Galt that occasionally will take a sip of wine, but I'd love to see something like this in Old Town. It's just short of a round table, but I'm pushing that too. But I would love to see this. It would bring people in from Lodi, Elk Grove, Wilton, all over, just to walk through the town. And this is the beginning. And I like to see you being proactive instead of reactive after it. So this here, I totally agree with, and I think it's going to help Galt. It's going to improve the Old Town. It's a beginning. It's a seed that can be planted, that will be grown, and I think all of Galt will benefit by it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Friend Al, would you mind approaching, please? All the way up here.
All the way up there.
This is just to remind you where you can do your wine tasting locally.
Thank you very much. You made me, by the way.
Good friends.
Yeah.
And Mr. Baldwin, I do want to tell you that I think this city council here and our staff are pretty proactive, so just want to put in a plug for our team here. I'm going to close the public hearing and council.
So move.
I want to say something first.
Go ahead.
Okay. I want to say I think you're a great addition to our town. You are Barsetti Winery. You've before this, you've always been inclusive in a lot of fundraising and things that are going on in the city. And just to let you know that we have appreciated that and really look forward to you being down there. Okay.
And be successful.
Yeah,
Yes.
be great, successful.
Yes.
So we have some
We're gonna make that a requirement. You have to be successful.
Call for the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Singleton,
Aye.
Councilmember Payne. Aye. Councilmember Campion.
Aye.
Mayor Powers.
Aye.
4-0 pass.
Okay, now we're at the strategic plan update. Are we doing that? Yeah. No show.
Hold it.
Just hold on.
Okay, right. No, here.
Hold on.
Matt.
Let's just proceed.
Not wanting.
Okay, while she's getting that up, I'll just let everyone know that City Council and all the heads of the departments meet every 6 months to put some goals forward that we'd like to do within that 6 months, and we bring these goals back every month to the City Council meetings to let you know where we are with them, how we're moving along, what's been done, what hasn't, and what we're working on.
Want to just proceed?
Do you want me to just read? Well, I don't have the yellow.
Completely frozen.
Do you
I
have?
have it.
Okay.
I have it. If the council wants, I can just go ahead and then, oh, there we go.
Oh, okay.
Too soon,
Just a little technical error there. Okay, we're
for
gonna,
a bit. Let's catch up.
we'll start with our, I'm gonna let you take it this time, Jason.
Yeah.
Do you mind?
No problem.
Okay, thank you.
The first three, this is the enhance and maintain infrastructure and facilities, and the first three we highlighted because these are all areas that are gonna be addressed as part of the upcoming, budget and CIP, and kind of a plug for, I guess, those that are interested in participating in council workshop that's scheduled for June 10th. But the three items on here are to take a look at, deferred facility maintenance, including some budget recommendations, to, development recommendations regarding the development of Phase 1B improvements for Walker Park, which is 2 additional baseball fields. And then, take a look at, assess and make budget recommendations to the city manager regarding the need for new technologies within the city. So what you'll see in the upcoming budget workshop is recommendations in each of those areas. So,
Great. Next list. Okay, there we go.
Slow right now. Hold on.
Okay, that's, who's gonna read this?
okay. Tony, do you want to give an update on number 3 here?
Sure, and actually I have a more recent update as a matter of fact, from this morning. We met with the Eastview team. The delays have been occurring because the team was not functioning properly previously. There's a new planning and engineering firm on board. We had a meet and greet this morning. It looks like they know what to do at this point, so they'll be moving ahead quickly. We'll be hoping to get a land use plan, which is what's been holding up the process on our end because we don't have anything to analyze. We are hoping to get that within the next couple of weeks. Once we do get that, hopefully we'll be able to then schedule the scoping meeting. I would envision it actually occurring the first part of June. So at this point, we're a little bit behind, but I think we can probably catch up and keep the project on track once we get set for that process.
That was the applicant's engineer?
Yes, yes. Yeah, basically staff has been on hold while we were waiting for the applicant and his team to basically, for lack of a better term, get their act together and move forward with this. And it looks like they have at this point. They let the former team go. He has a new team on board, and like I said, it looks like they know what they're doing.
Who's the new consultant you're working with?
I'm terrible with names, and I don't recall, and unfortunately not being familiar. I can get you that name later. They are a local firm out of Sacramento.
That's good.
That does that question.
Actually, it's Wood Rogers.
There you go.
Oh, Wood Rogers, okay.
Gwen saves the day.
Very
Thank you,
good.
Gwen.
That's all?
Okay,
So we'll let the council and the community know as soon as we have a date scheduled for that scoping hearing.
Okay, back to you.
Okay. Okay, item number 3, this is the improved financial stability. Item number 3 on the screen is to present to the City Council for action recommendations for collection services, extension and transfer station agreement with Cal Waste. We've had discussions, negotiations with them for a while. We recently actually just finalizing executing a contract with a consulting firm, R3 Consulting Group, to assess the proposal made by R3, make some recommendations back to the city and the City Council subcommittee on this, and And the funding is being provided by Cal Waste to provide that study for the city, and so we're looking to get that kicked off here in the next couple weeks, and so hopefully we'll have some information back to the council in the next 60 days or so.
Great, thank you. And next?
Next one is to attract, develop, and retain quality employees. And this is one of the goals on this one. Number one is to use the Survey Monkey, distribute a survey to all employees with a variety of different questions. You know, why you like your job, what keeps you here, what do you need to grow in your position, analyze results and present those results back to the city manager and the city council. And the survey is ready to go. We're just finalizing the email distribution list to go out to all the employees. So we expect that to go out this week. So that'll be good.
So you guys are moving right along.
Yeah, we're moving right along.
Okay, and let's...
If I could,
Okay, and
Mayor?
Council, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor, you wanted to add something?
I did. When I was looking through this, when we got the packet, I wanted to update the enhanced cultural and youth activities. In the number 4 column, we have contingent upon granting a 501c3 from the State Secretary Office. Recommended to the City Council for direction funding options for Police Activities League. It's on target, as indicated on this this plan here, but we've actually done that, and I think that I just wanted to let everybody know we are pretty much in the done column. We are now actively trying to plan events and trying to help some of our youth out there and get them moving along in some activities. So that's all. It was just something I wanted.
No, and that's a good thing that we're glad to see that that's progressing the way it's progressing.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Kudos to you guys.
I'm so happy with it.
So we'll mark that in the completed done column. We can
Yes.
celebrate that. I think there was one other item, and Barbara, I know you had mentioned maybe saying something about the Harvey Park project. Did you want to do that at this time, or did you want to do that later?
I can do it now.
Okay.
As you know, we are trying to, revitalize, reclaim Harvey Park, make it more family friendly. It's an area that has had some issues. So we've taken on the project of adding playground equipment, but also most recently, in fact, Saturday, the beautification committee was out there along with some of our youth committee members installing or beginning to install I want to say more than a flower bed, that's the corner there at C Street and 3rd Street to make it an attractive entrance into Harvey Park. In addition to that, we're looking at putting in a community garden on the vacant lot south of Harvey Park, where hopefully some of the seniors, possibly from Galt Place, can come and grow vegetables or flowers, whatever they want to, along with the people in the neighborhood. Currently, we've been working on the plot plan, locating the water, looking for donations for the community garden. So we hope to have maybe a fall planting.
Good, and you guys are all doing, like I said, a lot of things are happening in Galt, and I think it's great. A lot of things are coming together all at one time, and it shows a great deal of unity and a lot of coming together. There's always room to volunteer kids out there, so if you want to come in and put some sweat equity in, just let us know. But there's all kinds of things going on in town, and the thing at Harvey Park on this Saturday is going to be very nice. There's going to be a lot of people out there using their elbow grease and getting some stuff done, and it's a accumulation of a lot of people from different organizations, volunteers. It's going to be really nice.
Yeah, I think it'll make a difference in the neighborhood.
It will.
Yes.
Okay. Now moving on to discretionary funds, and that would be me. The first allocation I would like is to approve the allocation of $400 from my discretionary funds budget to go towards the startup and operation costs for the police activities leagues that our Vice Mayor just mentioned. So if I could have a motion on that, I'd appreciate it.
Motion to accept?
Second?
Call for the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
Aye.
Mayor Powers?
Aye.
And thank you very much, Mayor.
You're welcome. Now, another discretionary funds with me. Hey, we just segued right into this, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
We did. Okay, I'd like to approve the allocation of $250 for the discretionary funds in the FY 2013-14 budget to go to the beautification committee this week for their Hobby Park project. Can I have a motion on that?
I will move that.
Okay.
Second?
Thank you.
Call for the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
Aye.
Mayor Powers?
Aye. And then one more discretionary funds, do I just read it for him?
Sure.
Okay, it's for Councilmember Cruz, and he wants to approve the allocation of up to $600 from his discretionary funds in the FY 2013 and 14 budget for 2 Veterans Memorial perpetual plaques. Do I have a motion for
So
that?
moved. Second.
Call for the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
Aye.
Mayor Powers?
Aye. And now we're at the City Treasurer's Office. The Treasurer's Report for the month of March 2014. To you, Mr. Farrell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not going to spend too much time on this for the Treasurer's Report tonight, so I mainly want to spend a lot of my time on the investment policy, which is the next agenda item. I will say, though, for the Treasurer's Report, it's exactly truly where it should be. Interest rates are not moving up; they're not moving down. They're just kind of pretty stagnant. But we have 50% of our invested money in long-term investments. Approximately 18% in the state of California LAIF funds, which provides us liquidity so we can meet our obligations, and the rest right in the middle there between 1 year and 3 years. So it's well balanced, well laddered. And with that, I'll just ask for your approval this evening for the Treasurer's Report for March 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Call for the vote, please, Liz.
Vice Mayor Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
Aye.
Mayor Powers?
Aye.
That's 4-0.
Thank you. And it is brought to my attention by the Vice Mayor that we should tell you that Councilmember Cruz is in Washington, D.C. at Cap to Cap, and then next week he will be at the Police Week, as will our chief, putting Officer Kevin Ton's name on the wall back there. And so I just wanted to let you know why Councilmember Cruz is not here today. So, on to investment policy for the City of Galt 2014. Back to you, Sean.
Thank you very much. For the members of the audience here tonight, I wanted to spend a little time talking about the investment policy. By government code, this investment policy has to be presented to our City Council once a year. And tonight is the night. What this investment policy is, it's a 15-page document that in which the City Council has the ultimate responsibility as far as where the City of Galt's money is invested. And what in this document, it delegates that fiduciary responsibility to the City Treasurer, which is myself. And with that, along with that, comes certain guidelines that I have to follow. These are the directions that the City Council gives to me. The very first direction is how the City Council wants to invest the city's money. First, we've all heard this every single time, but first is the safety of the money. You have to make sure that the money is safe. We don't take any risks when investing our money. Second, we have to make sure that we have the proper liquidity, that we as the city can meet our obligations, pay our bills. And lastly, once those first two are satisfied, then the City Council is directing me to get the highest yield as I possibly can as City Treasurer and making the investments. So that's one of the main things that the investment policy does. The other thing it does is the City Council is directing me to here are the investments, the authorized investments that you can invest in. For instance, I can invest in, say, U.S. government Treasury notes, Treasury bills. I can invest in government agencies, talking about like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Federal Home Loan Bank type bonds. I can also invest in certificates of deposit, whether they be here locally in Galt, and also non-local certificates of deposit. If the city of Galt issues a bond, as a treasurer, I can invest our own money into our own bonds. So that's another part of it, as far as what the investment policy is. And lastly, another main point is how the city treasurer wants to be kept informed as far as what investments that we have. By government code, I have to inform the city council on a quarterly basis as far as what a report as stating exactly what we have, where it's invested. But I go a little bit beyond that. I report to the city council on a monthly basis to tell them exactly where our investments are and what type of making sure we have the right balanced or laddered portfolio, which I talked about earlier, and then in getting what type of yield that we get in our portfolio. So, as I said, this has to be presented to the city council once a year, and tonight is the night. I will also state that the investment policy from last year to this year has no changes in it. Okay, so with that, I will ask now for the council's approval for the investment policy for the fiscal year of 2014-2015.
And may I just say, we also like you here because I always like to see what tie you're going to wear.
I appreciate that.
I love your ties. You always have some interesting ties.
See my ties.
There you go.
Was it Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck? Okay. I always wear Mickey or some cartoon character.
Yeah, that's great.
To our meetings, yes.
I appreciate it.
I think it's a good thing to wear a fun tie when you're talking finances.
Right, yes. You can't take it seriously.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Oh, okay. Do I have a motion? So moved.
Second?
Call for the vote, please, Liz.
Vice Mayor Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
Aye.
Mayor Powers?
Aye. Thank you very much, Sean. Okay, now we're at the Public Works Department, the presentation and council direction regarding the wastewater treatment plant upgrade project financial plan options. Is that you, Mark?
Well, he is going to be on the front queue tonight. Come on down, Mark. This item is an important item. We're charting the future of our city and ability to continue to provide sewer service to our residents and continue to grow the community as development occurs. And so we're here to present a draft preview of some financing options for the upcoming award of contracts. We have received bids on the wastewater treatment plant. They are favorable compared to the original engineer's estimate, but they are large dollar amounts. And to fund that, we had to look at various options, and I don't want to steal too much of the presentation thunder, but we now got to talk about how we want to pay the piper to build this large $20 million project. And so we're here to present some options to you tonight and get your feedback on a preferred option so that we can then come back to you in a few weeks with a recommended award and a final financing plan. And with that, Mark?
Mayor, City Council Clerk, thank you, and I will start
Next time wear a fun hat,
from now.
tie.
I will consider it. I don't know about Donald Duck. Maybe a grizzly bear. Because we have such a big project here, and over the last 18 months, I think about 18 months ago, we came up with our first estimate. And we're still in that range, but these are not estimates that what we have in the report in front of you actually use all of our associated costs that we've expended to date, also the contracts that we have to date, and the estimate or the construction bid that came out just a couple of weeks ago. And this will be before you in about 2 council meetings from now. We'll be discussing that and seeking award. This process that we're here now, as Stephen mentioned, is that we have various ways that we can fund the debt service that this project is going to have. And there is going to be a big debt service on this. We have found that SRF has the best cost for financing this project. It's just under 2% right now, and there's 20 to 30 year loan periods that we can have on this project. We're going to go through a couple things on why this project here. You've heard me say this several times since I've been up here, is that we're here for a lot of regulatory stuff. But with this plan, we're looking for direction. We're looking to help us set up some guidelines and how we start formatting the SRF loan package as we bring it back to you on June 3rd. 210 discharge permit put all kinds of stringent requirements on us to meet a September 2/15 deadline. And what we're at is we're on schedule. We're going to meet that. The contractor that we have will probably be, if the council awards the contract, they'll be starting construction around July 1st, and we should meet our project requirements on that. We've completed a lot. As the council know, we've gone through a lot of items from project identification all the way to the final plans and specifications and opening bids successfully. Looks like we've got a good bid that's on the low end of the engineer's estimate. The construction estimate was between 20 and 24 million, and we were just under 20 million. So we are glad that staff and the consultants and city council, all the efforts put into it, that we've got some good bids back. We have this before you, the financial plan. We're going to be bringing some financial documents back to you, financing documents, the construction bid award, and to meet that September 2/15 deadline. Now I'm going to hand it over to HF&H consultants. They're a sub-consultant out of with West Joseph Associates. We retained them several months back to start developing this plan for us and to start doing the counting and all the different options that we have available to us. John Feinkopf, right here, he's with HF&H and consultants, and we also have Seema Staffy right behind me. Yeah, she's really the one who's done the heavy load here. She's hiding back there. But anyway, I'm going to hand it over to them for a few minutes. If you have questions as we're going through this, please stop us and ask, because there is a lot of information. We're going to try to get through it in about 8 minutes. and then we're going to come back for a couple of other things that bring it all together. So thank you. John.
Thank you, Mark. Madam Mayor, members of the council, good evening. Pleasure to be here. I think you've gotten our technical memo in your packet, and hope you had a chance to read it. I hope it wasn't too confusing. I'll try to move through this as quickly as I can. Again, please interrupt me if things move too quickly. First, let me explain some of the assumptions we've made, and then I'll try to focus on the difference in the options that we analyzed. For expenses, the project cost $28 million. That reflects the recent bids that were open. For the state revolving loan fund terms, the repayment would begin in 2017. As Mark mentioned, the current interest rate is around 1.9%, half the state's borrowing rate. One of the areas where you have options here is whether it be a 20-year or a 30-year term on the loan. The interest rate would be the same in either case. There would also be, there's a requirement to establish a debt service reserve, which is equal to 1.2 times the debt service payment. That's just a requirement of the loan.
Is that contained within the loan?
That will be funded from reserves separately.
From reserves?
Yeah, it'll be about $2 million
okay.
From the reserve. I'll get to that shortly, with details. There will also be an additional O&M expense, operations and maintenance expense, to add to the current revenue requirement right now, about $3.6 million. That expense would start out at around $156,000 a year and increase to about $10,000 or 0.1 to 0.2% per year. So we have factored in that additional O&M and looking at these cost impacts. There we go. As far as the sources of funding go that we've built into the model, we've assumed that there will be 0.5% growth in revenue in your customer base. So just from the revenue from existing rates, we built in 0.5% there. As I mentioned, in your capital reserves that are still available, there are $4 million. About $2 million of that would be used to fund the debt service reserve that would be required. so it wouldn't be built into the loan directly. The remaining $2 million of the $4 million of reserves, here's another option that you have here, could be used in a couple of ways for project funding. And I'll explain that in a minute. We factored in the use of revenue from sewer connection fees. With this 0.5% annual growth, that'd be about 35 new connections per year, and about half of that revenue we're using to help offset the loan repayments, about $150,000 a year. Up front, we took advantage of an EPA grant and a contribution from the Water Enterprise Fund to buy down the amount of principal that would have to be borrowed there. Those are all the funding assumptions. We created three options to look at. For each of these options, there's the 20 and the 30-year repayment terms. Option one, where we say here, no use of capital reserves, what we mean by that is there's actually been some reserves that have been used already, and there would be reserves that would be used for the debt service reserve, but we wouldn't use any of the remaining $2 million. So this would just be fully taking out a full loan for the $28 million minus the grant funds and the contribution from the water fund. So you just see an even stream of loan repayments after that. With option two, what we did was we used the $2 million to essentially a down payment to buy down the cost of the loan, reduce it by $2 million. That $2 million would then be repaid over the first 10 years of the repayment period. That's another option that you would have to decide how to repay that reserve. We did use it. In option three, $2 million wouldn't be used to buy down the debt, and instead it would be used for the first 3-4 years to help make the loan payments, and then over the next 3 or 4 years, the reserve would be restored. So by the end of the 10-year period, that $2 million would be restored. So those are the three options. One, without using that $2 million. Option two, where you use it as a down payment to buy down the amount of the borrowing, and then three, to use it to make the loan repayments in the early years. So now we get some fine print here, and I won't go through this in great detail, but basically the current residential flat rate that people are paying is $45.75. In this table here, we're showing the additional costs that we're estimating that would be added for the 20-year loans for each of these three options. So this, I hate to do this behind it. Let me just step back here. For option one, this is $20, right? It would be the additional cost per month to the gravel.
One of the portable mics.
Okay. Thank you. Is it on? Oh, there we go. All right. So here we have, I don't know where I can stand without blocking this. For option one, where you're not using reserves at all and you're fully funding the loan, here's the $20.52 per month amount that we estimate would be added to give a total of $66.27. That's being added to the current monthly flat rate that residential customers pay. And then after that, there's no additional incremental costs. This continues throughout the remainder, in this case, of the 20-year repayment period. Here's option two. It shows when you buy down the loan, the payments are slightly moderated here. You'll see how they trend in here, and then it flattens out for the remainder of the period. Under option three, it's a little trickier here because what it shows is you're gradually introducing the additional cost because we're using the $2 million to help cover the loan repayments in the first few years, and then in the remaining years here, we're paying back the use of those the $2 million, and then it flattens out. Once you get beyond the 10 years here, where the $2 million has been reimbursed, these amounts in options 2 and 3 drop down to approximately equal to option 1. So this is the 20-year table, and we also have a 30-year table. Here are the amounts you see. Just the same scenario with You know, again, this is, it's a question whether you want to pay more now for shorter period or less over a longer period. And so you see these percentage impacts as well as the dollar impacts are less because you're paying the loan back for 10 years more. For the annual bills, what we've done here is we plot the 20-year options in red and the 30-year options in blue. Again, this is for the first 10 years of the repayment period. It shows you how the here on the y-axis here, how the monthly bills vary for each of these options. Once you get beyond the 10-year period, the options 2 and 3 here and options 2 and 3 here for the 30-year loan will drop down to option 1 in each case. It's a little hard to see the red triangle right there. So with these options, you can clearly see, I think, the impact on rates and how they're moderated as you, for example, use the $2 million in reserves to moderate the initial years of rate payments here. Of course, later on, it catches up with you in repaying the loan out in these years here. This is a table. It has a lot of numbers on it. I'd like you really just to kind of focus on the first column there that's labeled the annual debt service, and it actually should say annual debt service plus the loan repayment. These are really the peak amounts that you would see for the combined debt service and loan repayment. Again, when you get beyond the roughly 8 years or so, you would see when the $2 million reserve has been repaid, you see the amounts for options 2 and 3 drop down closer to option 1. But I wanted you to see the magnitude of these dollars. We were just looking at the magnitude of the impact on rates, but these are the actual costs that you would see added to your existing revenue requirements. And this is what, as part of the condition of the loan, you have to dedicate this much revenue to the repayment of the loan. In the middle columns there, we show the O&M, and the O&M, it's growing over time there, and I just wanted you to see, just how much of the total impact is attributable to O&M. This is finally, it's a table we've titled it Economic Rankings of Options. There are certainly political considerations to factor into this too, but what we're showing here is a ranking in it. We consider the net present value of the loan repayments, as well as what the bills look like in the short term, as well as towards the end of the 10-year period, a longer term. And we've ranked them here. Option 3 here, the 20-year option or term, with the use of the $2 million in reserves to try to moderate those rate increases, has the most favorable economic impact on ratepayers. So I think at that point, maybe I should turn it back over to Mark.
We've shown just 6 options, and there is such an infinite variety or infinite amount of options that we can do. We intend at this point to just be looking at a couple of things from the City Council, and we'll get that in a minute. But there's so much coming at you right now, but you see the ranges are anywhere from $15 to a little over $20 a month, depending on which options that we choose. We have policy decisions to be made in the future about how much debt service we want to have and how much, we have to have a certain amount of debt service for the loan payment agreement, but then how much debt service we want for future capital improvement projects and such like that. And so there's a lot of things that we're still going to be looking at in the rate case, as we do in the future a rate study. We have coming before you in a couple of City Council meetings approving the financing documents. That's the SRF loan package, awarding the contract, and and hopefully coming back with a wastewater rate study. We're going to come to you for approval of that before we move forward with it. But that's just about the time period that if we have the process, it should be done about a year from now. And then everything's set in place to meet our requirements for the 215. You used to have a good finger last time I was here. You were just, that's the only time I could point at the line.
So we're at our concluding point. We've given you a lot of information. The staff report has tried to sort of break down sort of the crux of the issue, and we are at a point where if we're going to move forward with a favorable SRF loan and awarding of a contract to build the project and meet our deadlines, that we have to sort of pick our poison here. We've given you some options, and I'm just going to quickly go back to this graph. We can buffer rates using reserves and slowly grow into our rates. If you do that, you'll end up paying more at the end based on the fact that you've sort of pushed interest payments out, and now you have to pay back the reserves, which are really intended for long-term system replacement needs, over the remaining 20 or 30 years of the life of the loan. The other option is to, no, we want to overall keep rates as low as possible, and you can raise rates steeply at the beginning, and then you'll see they will be incrementally lower for the remaining 10, 15, 20 years of the loan. So we've tried to, rank pros and cons of, those impacts, and he was talking about the ranking, and basically from just a strictly economic, if we're trying to not create too great a rate burden up front, as well as not have too high rates at the end, and sort of efficient use of money, we're leaning towards option 3 and a 20-year term. And on this particular graph, that would be, let's see if I can do this with a laser pointer. That would be this line here on your graph. And it would be sort of a grow into your rates. Good.
That's not the right one.
It's
Pick the wrong color?
just the
Yeah,
red
the red one.
The red one, the one above it.
I'm sorry, 20-year loan. So thank you for keeping me honest here. We'd be growing into rates, and then they would plateau, but we'd also get some time to get some help from future growth in the city and other things to help buffer our rates. Now, I just do want to point out, these rate graphs that you're seeing, Paul, take a tumble here. These are not proposed rates. These are not final rates that are recommended. These are just what would the rates need to be to pay back the loan. We also need to look at long-term replacement reserves. We need to look at future growth, how much of this should be attributable to future growth versus as attributable to current ratepayers base. That would all be part of this rate study that we would go to next. What we do have to do in the short term is, if we're going to proceed and award the contract, is we need to commit to the state whether we want a 20-year loan, a 30-year loan, and how much we want to borrow. So we need guidance tonight as to a preferred option that would then let us finalize those financing agreements with the state. If we're going to defer rates or use reserves, then we don't have to borrow as much, depending on the rate scenario that we're interested in. And then we'll come back to you with final recommendations. None of these rate impacts would be felt until into 2016 or 17. We're proposing that we would do a Prop 218 outreach and education effort as part of that rate increase in probably a year or so to become effective in 2 years, which would be when we need to start paying back the loans. But we do need to sort of pick the format that we're going to go after as far as a loan. And so we're basically tonight at the point where we need to ask you, after any questions and any further discussions you'd like to have about the assumptions or the options, we're looking for direction as to a preferred option so that we can then work with the state to finalize loans and move forward with the award of contract.
Can I ask you a question?
This would be the time.
On this chart, dedicated revenue needed for loans, can you explain on option 3, the additional annual O&M, the huge number at that point compared to the option 1 and 2?
I'm gonna let our consultant answer that.
Yes, what we're trying to show here is what the peak debt service and loan repayment will be, and it varies in time with each of the alternatives. So if you look at the rightmost column, for option 3, the peak cost occurs towards the end of the period in fiscal 24-25, and over those additional years, you can see with the other two options, for option 2, we're looking at a peak of around in fiscal year 17-18. For option 1, that $156,000 is what you see right up front. So we're comparing these at different points in time, and farther down the road you get, the more that $156,000 grows to eventually that $238,000, and then it's going to grow yet more farther out over time. But this is the peak cost associated with each of these options. It's just at different points in time.
And it doesn't change with 20-year or 30-year on option 3? It stays at $238,000?
No, it will keep growing at about $10,000 a year, 0.1, 0.2%.
It will continue to grow over time. We're assuming that based on consumer price indexes and other things, that labor costs and fuel costs and energy costs will continue to rise about 1 to 2% a year typically. They were kind of giving you a snapshot on this slide of sort of the peak year and the peak amount of your rates that, over half in some cases will be necessary to be strictly dedicated just to operating the plant, the incremental costs for the new improvements, as well as paying back debt service on whatever loan option we select. So it's true whether we borrow money or not, or whether we build the plant or not, our costs will tend to rise with time, has been our experience. And so he was trying to give a sort of worst case look at debt service costs with the incremental O&M costs.
Thank you.
Is there a reason that you selected 10 years as a repayment on the reserve?
That was your assumption. So
That was an assumption, and that is one of the options you have. That's a knob on the workings here that you can dial. You could decide to stretch that out or to defer it initially.
Right.
It's certainly an option to play with.
My concern, I think the council is a little blind when it comes to utility rates at this point. We know that we're going to be facing an increase with water later this year. We know we've got an increase here. We don't know what that total amount's going to be. And I think, for me, I would be looking at probably a 30-year, borrow the $2 million from the reserve and make it a 15-year repayment, simply so that we have the lowest annual debt service, rather than trying to repay this thing in a shorter period of time in order to keep the rates as low as possible. And hopeful that maybe the rates even come under what is projected here. I mean, I know these are rough numbers, but to me, I'm not comfortable going at a higher rate in a shorter term. Even though in the long run it may save the city money, I think the residents more concerned about how much they write that check for each month, and that's my concern.
To elaborate a little bit, what you have there is that we don't know what the growth of the population is going to happen in Galt. And we just have a 0.5% right now.
I realize it's very, very low, very, very low.
And there's a possibility 5-6 years and things turn around, we're not going to see that high peak.
Sure.
It's going to stay well under that.
Right.
But we just have to make some conservative assumptions right now as we go forward. But we're really hoping that a bunch of things happen in the community is going to bring a few more people around to help.
Sure. I agree. 35 units for the next 20 or 30 years, I think, is ultra conservative, and so annually. So I think that that'll probably offset some of the cost. But at the same time, I would rather go into it knowing that we got the best possible rate we could get at this time.
Yeah, and I also have a concern that there may be new regulations that we have to comply with, adding more costs. that we're not expecting?
That's a very valid concern, given the history we've seen of, two sets 5 years apart. We've just got notification of what we think the next round of rulemaking is going to be, and hopefully it'll be 10 years before we have to comply. But that's one of the downside of pushing this out over 30 years, and then 10 years in, we've got another major debt service increment, pay me now or pay me later, and it's a very difficult thing for ratepayers, and it's not just Galt. I mean, we're seeing it north of us and south of us, particularly surface water discharges are really being regulated to the point of, taxpayer revolt. And so we're looking to find a way to ease into this is sort of the recommendation, and Councilmember Campion's idea is along the lines of what we're recommending is the option 3, grow into the rates, see what growth does. We certainly, just because we picked that option, doesn't mean that we have to go there unless the financing requires. In other words, if we have excess growth and we get developer buy-in fees and things that can be used to help fund some of the debt service, certainly we wouldn't raise rates just because we said we might need to raise them as we need to.
There's no prepayment penalty on this, is there?
No.
No, there is. I think, I know you guys are still kind of considering different things, and I think if you look at the economic rankings of the options, that kind of lists the net present value of these things. So if you look at it just a pure economic decision, the option 3, the 20 years with phasing the rates in over a number of years, that one makes the most sense from the ratepayer standpoint, from the citizens, from the city's standpoint. That one's where you get the most value. The 30-year options vary depending on which one you choose. If you want the 30-year phased in over time, that's option 3. That's ranked number 4 on the list, which means your ratepayers are paying quite a bit more over time. And I think the risk of the 30-year loan is exactly what Steve said, and I think what Barbara alluded to, which is the fact that we're likely going to have another one of these bonds coming up. And if every time you do it, you're going out 30 years, you're just never going to pay down this debt. You're just saddling future generations with more and more and more debt, and you're kicking the can down the road, as opposed to, the last one we did was 20 years. I think the one we did before that was 20 years. I don't think we've ever done a 30-year. I'd ask Inez to weigh in on that, but I'm not aware of the city ever doing debt that long.
But we were looking at dollar values of an increase of $20 a month. I mean, that's the difference, and I understand exactly.
No, but we did. But it was $20 in the last one too.
I guess I don't.
We did one $10 increase, and then we did another 5, and then another 5. We just phased it in over time.
Okay, but this is $20 day one.
No, we're looking at option 3 over 20 years.
The ranking has option 3, 20 years.
So that's the one that has it phased in over time.
Oh, I was looking at option 1, which is.
Oh, right, yeah.
That's
$20 initially.
Initially.
If you look at option 3, it's, I think, $7 initially, and then it goes up over, the first 10 years or so.
Right.
This is option 3, right in here, with the 20 years.
20 years, right.
Red solid line.
Right.
So you have.
And just as a point of reference, the 30-year option is a brand-new option that just became available this year under SRF funding. They're seeing communities struggle with the debt service schedules and the amounts of rate increases, so they're giving us a choice to take that out another 10 years, but it comes with some trade-offs.
And some of the things that we would look at when we looked at the term of the debt was just what we thought the expected life was on the improvements. So when you go out 20 years or 30 years or whatever that period is, then it gets to the point where your operating costs or just the cost to continue improving that project now is longer than the period, or is a longer term than what that repayment is on that debt. So it doesn't make economic sense at times. So we evaluate that as well. So again, council decision.
Just like buying a car.
Right, so we kind of figure out if you want to do a 3-year, 4-year, 5-year, or, 7 or 10 now, I understand.
Absolutely. I've done a lot of rate studies and done depreciation analysis for wastewater treatment plants similar to this. You get it combined everything, all of the pumps and the concrete and everything else that goes in, about a 27-year depreciation life cycle for everything included. And so, we're in between that 20 or 30-year period. As Inez said, that our O&M costs started, exceeding after 25 or so years. They start really picking up, as you've seen all the maintenance that's been doing.
Yes, we have.
On a 25-year-old plant.
Okay, any more questions? No?
I don't.
Council?
That's
Everybody's pretty pained. It has to, it's what we've been looking at for years, and it's, like you said, they changed horses in the middle of the stream for a lot of things that we're trying to accomplish, and it's really tough thing to look at.
We, obviously, as council members representing the people, we try not to make an impact on the citizens any more than we have to. But we also have to try to be sensible as well.
Right.
And I think one of the things that Kurt said, I think, is a good point. I think this information is almost like a worst-case scenario. So I think some of the assumptions are very conservative, 0.5% growth. I mean, I think it's based on the last 5 years when we haven't grown at all. And we were growing much faster when the economy was growing. I think we're going to be able to, there's going to be some decisions coming up as far as there's some components of the project that we may not need to do right away, which could lower the cost. How fast we pay back the reserves is another question. How much gets pushed off to future development? I think right now the assumption is all that's in there, right? I mean, this is kind of everything is here. This is the worst case. It's not going to get any more expensive than this. So we can do some things over the next year, months, whatever it is, to bring down those rate numbers that you see in this study. Is that an accurate statement, Mark and John and Steve?
Yes, it is, and in fact, we have some additive alternates that are in sort of the bid numbers you're hearing that have been factored in. There's probably $1.2 million worth of work we're going to recommend we don't award because the price, we don't feel we're going to get the value for the price that was bid, and knowing that we've got some difficult financial challenges ahead.
So for tonight, are you looking for one alternative or one option, or are you looking at a series of a couple? What exactly are you looking for tonight?
At a minimum, general guidance, we kind of like this time frame, and we'd like to come back with recommendations that'll give us some options that either accelerate or slow down the rate increases. We kind of got to decide whether we're going to ease into the rate increases over a longer period of time, knowing that it will cost us more in the long run, or whether we're going to try to keep long-term costs down, and that means steeper rate increases up front.
I personally, I don't know whether you're going to poll council, but I personally would rather look at a phase-in. I like option 3 under the 30-year best, even though I know you rank it number 4. I know it pushes it out. But I think it's the conservative approach at this point, not knowing anything else. If new information becomes available, maybe we could look at a shorter term. The other thing is, once we use the $2 million of the reserve is going to be used for the dedicated reserve that's required as part of the loan conditions, correct? Well, there's 1.2%.
Correct. That's sort of a default reserve that if for some reason the city was unable to make payments, that you have 1 year of debt service already built into a reserve. And then it talks about an additional $2 million left. Does that zero out the reserve for wastewater treatment plant reserve funds? Let me give you a hesitant answer because it depends, and I hate that answer. It depletes our current available reserves. However, built into these numbers is one of the assumptions is also that we're going to borrow money to reimburse the $5.5 million that have already been spent on design, environmental clearance, and developing the feasibility plan, that we've done over the last 3 years, that'll actually could create some additional reserves up front, but then you're paying interest for the privilege of having that money available to you up front. So the thought here was that that money was taken out of long-term reserves for system replacement, so we built the assumption in that we would get that money back into replacement reserves and wouldn't use it as part of the cash flow here. But that is another option, is that we could not prepay our
Because that's a policy issue.
Correct.
Which would then affect the overall rate, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
About $5 million of the $26 million,
$28
million would be paying back costs already expended.
I would like to see an option where we do repay and where we don't repay. I mean, that's, yes, if you're coming back to us and you're looking for guidance, I guess, I mean, that's something I would like to see before I make a final decision. I don't know about the rest of the council.
What is it, Kurt, that you're showing what you're...
Well, he's talking about monies that have been expended currently that could be repaid to establish a reserve, and they were expended on this project. And the way I understand it, Steve, is that we could choose not to repay that fund, correct? Therefore, it would have the net effect of reducing the reserves available for wastewater treatment plant, correct?
Right, in essence, you wouldn't borrow the full 28 to restore your
Right.
reserves. And I'm looking at our consultant to make sure I'm not misstating their assumptions.
So the question is, in all of these 6 scenarios, did we assume taking out the full $28 million loan, which, because the construction's only $20 million, so there's $8 million of money that's either already been spent or already encumbered that would be paying back, and is that, under all these scenarios, are we assuming taking out the maximum loan, right? That's the question.
No, under the option...
I think that's what
Option
you're
one,
asking.
yeah.
Option
Right.
2, we would borrow $2 million less because we're going to use reserves instead of borrowing. If we don't award $1 million of additives, that we'd borrow $1 million less.
So what is option 3? How much is being borrowed in option 3?
Well, that shows the $2 million, I think. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, that's using $2 million to help offset. It's a cash flow issue at the beginning.
So we'd be borrowing $2 million less than the $28 million, right? Is that accurate?
No, we would still be borrowing the full project amount. What I do want to make a comment here is that what's nice about
Is the full 28 include the 5 that's been expended?
Yes, so
28 is every dollar we spent from day one.
comes back to us, gets reimbursed, yes.
Okay.
That's what the project shows.
Okay. And okay, I don't mean to interrupt you, but to answer, I think, Councilmember Payne's question, we borrowed and we've expended money already. The 28 million, if you took, I don't know, 4 or 5 million, like you said, that has been expended, that would reduce, instead of lending 28, we're down to 23.
Right.
Which would then lower these numbers.
But we just have less in reserve.
But it reduces the reserve.
So we've already spent.
It's already spent. What they're saying is they take the loan money to reimburse the reserve. And but we pay interest on that too.
Right.
So if we've spent it, we've done it.
And so why would one even consider doing that? Well, 2% money is hard to come by if you look at loan rates historically. And having money in reserves when the next surprise comes along, interest rates might be 4%.
Sure.
So you kind of got to struggle with, hey, to get a really good loan, do you borrow a little more money while the rates are low? But it's still to pay back with interest.
Yeah. And it's sitting in the bank unless we have specific projects that need to be done.
Right.
So we'll be making a little interest off of it?
No.
No? Yes, no, yes.
Any reserves that are in the fund will accrue their own interest.
Yeah, but we're paying 1.9%. I don't think we're getting.
We're only making 0.6 right
Yeah,
now.
so we're still losing.
Kind of offsetting a little bit.
Offsets a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, and it's nice to have reserves. I mean, that's what we're looking at, the bottom line on our budget every year.
Well, we still have reserves because.
Well, we do, but who knows?
Okay, but what they're saying is that that's money that's already been expended. There's $4 million in reserves available now. $2 million they have to set aside for this, for loan purposes, and then the other $2 million we could put into the rate, and out of the rate, repay the reserves. And again, it depends, what is the council comfortable with in terms of reserve? I don't know.
What's interesting at this point is we don't have to make a decision on the reserves. What we have coming up in front of us in the next couple of council meetings is setting an agreement with SRF to say, okay, we're looking at borrowing up to this amount. And we sign the contract, you know, we do that. But we have time, we have over the next 6 months to 12 months to decide, to come up with the policies and decide what kind of reserve we want. We start doing our wastewater rate study. And then we come back to you and we get policy direction on that and say, okay, we don't want to have a $28 million debt. We want to have something less, a 26 or a 24 million. And that comes before you, so we don't, at this time, we don't come back in and reimburse. You know, we're not asking you to allow us to go and reimburse everything we've spent out. That is going to come back before you to do that. But what we're looking at is what type of rate we'd be looking at, and maybe kind of an idea of how you would like this, expended up front into the rate. That's going to help us with our ISA contract with the SRF. All these policy decisions absolutely have to come back to get vetted out and determine what the council wants to go on those directions. And we intend on coming back every piece of those policy issues with you over the next 6 to 8 months and getting that. So at this time, I mean, what I'm hearing is we're still going to reserve that ability on paying back our reserves. Have that option, but
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that, but, I don't.
Okay, I'm gonna put what I think, just for general financing. You know, I'm much more comfortable with a 20-year loan. And only because when you look at how much you end up having to pay above and beyond on it in 10 more years, it ends up being a lot of money.
And a
You
lot
know,
of it's gonna go to the maintenance.
to the maintenance of it, because, 27 years is probably the best scenario on how long everything lasts, because something's always, that's just where I'm at on terms of the loan.
So are you thinking like option 3 for 20 years?
Yeah. And not, I'll have to be truthful and not being, not being as versed in all of this as I should, just because, come on, I have to be studying everything like you guys are for forever. I kind of have to sometimes go with what you guys think, a lot of times. You gave a good report, you did a lot of work, you gave us what you thought was the best scenario, and, the thing that I do feel more comfortable with is the 20-year loan. And then I'll pass that on to...
What's the downside? Review it again. You probably covered it. Do the 30-year over the 20. We do know we'll be spending a bigger percentage of our money on maintenance and operations.
In essence, you're paying more interest for longer.
Right.
So the cost of the money is going to the banks, or bondholders, the state in this case, instead of into other things that we could use it for. So by reducing rates up front, it'll cost you ultimately more in the long run, because you have to pay that back with interest over a long period.
Unless we have good things happening, like growth and stuff like that.
There is no prepayment penalty. We can, if
10 years, it's a big amount, though. 10 years is a long time.
No, but what isn't shown in here, and we don't have that information, if you did make, say development takes off and we have growth increases considerably higher than what's projected in here, on an annual basis, you can make a debt service payment you could finish in 20 years, assuming the growth was there, not pay any more than the 20, but still have the flexibility of a 30. I mean, it's just like your homeowner mortgage.
Right.
Same thing.
What are
Exactly.
What are what do you think, do you think we would ever do that? Getting to that point where we say, oh, we've got this pocket of money, let's
Probably not.
There's never a want for project. I mean, there's always something that needs to be done to
Yeah.
be able to just say, we're gonna put this money towards debt service. Not saying it wouldn't happen, but it doesn't happen very often. Certainly it could, and if council said, we want to pay it in 20 years, then why not just do the 20-year option? I guess the only reason, you know.
Well, the instructions could be anything above the assumption in terms of revenue generation, go to debt service. That's an easy policy.
And as we bring back rate and reserve policy recommendations, that could be one of the policies for the reserve, is that goes first to what? The debt service pay down, to reestablishing, long-term reserves, to, and we could start with the policy guidance from this council, and 10 years from now, based on what's happened, they could change the policy.
Sure.
Say, now we either have this emergency, we have this new regulation, or, we'd rather use the 2% money.
For another something.
Anytime we're looking at, I can't think of a time when we've had extra money and we've looked at, okay, well, one of the things we want to spend it on is paying off our debt service early. It just, the money gets gobbled up and it gets forgotten, and 2 councils from now, you've got different people and different staff, and it's just, now you've got a 30-year, amount on there, and it just tends to go with whatever it is. But, it's a policy decision, and there's certainly, what the choice is between 20 years and 30 years. You're going to pay it over that period of time or not. I mean, it's the same interest rate. It's just you're paying more over the long term, in exchange for slightly lower rates on the early years. And so.
Well, and even through the term, if you take a look between, it's not significant, but it is a reduction.
Yeah. The ultimate rate, yeah.
Well, I think we want to be conservative at this point because we have so many unknowns as far as how much we want to spend right now, because we don't know about the growth. We don't know what new regulations may be coming. We're pretty sure there's going to be more regulations. So I think thinking that we may get hit with
More regulations.
Yeah, and we don't know about growth. That's the big question mark. Where does that leave us?
And that's the one thing we do need to figure out is 20, 30 years, right? Because that's our need. That amount up front, the amount we take out, we don't have to know right now. Whether it's 28 or 25, we can determine that later.
That's my understanding.
Is that accurate, Mark? So the term 20 and 30, that before we sign all the documents, we need to know what that period of time is.
Yes, it is, but we will be putting a maximum amount that we would be borrowing on those documents too.
Okay.
So if we decide through policy over the next 6 months that we're going to, do something different than that total, contract amount, or total project amount, then we just end up, at the end of this project, we've only asked for reimbursement on certain things, and then we do a payment schedule that shows us at $22 million or 20, But we definitely need to have the year, and if the council is comfortable with doing the full project cost right at this point and making policy decisions as we go through the next 6 months, we can do that. If the council's looking at maybe something a little less at this time, then that's how we would write the ISA or the contracts with the SRF. How we blend this in, or we still have time to deal with that over the next 6 months.
But you have to have tonight, you need to know whether it's going to be a 20 or a 30 year loan.
Yes, because we're
At 2%.
going to set contract repayment terms that rely on which number we pick. And they're asking us, okay, pick a term.
Yeah.
They're either 20 or they're 30. What do you want to do? 30 is a new option. So most communities, if you were to say, well, what are others doing? Well, they've almost all historically been 20 because that was the only thing that's what you communities have known.
I think I'm going to have to be concerned about putting this debt on 30 years on our children or grandchildren, I think I'm going to, be more in favor with the mayor to go with the 20-year.
Okay, so I think we've had the discussion, so do we have a motion?
Well, then I'll make the motion that we, it'll be our policy to go with the 20-year loan.
So do I have a second?
I'll second.
Can I just ask for a clarification on that? Is that also with option 3, where the rates are phased in over time?
Option 3
option
for
three.
3 years.
That's 20 years, right?
Okay, it's been moved and second, call for the vote. Please.
Vice Mayor Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
I can't do it. I'm sorry, no, I just,
Okay.
can't do it.
Mayor Powers?
Aye.
Okay, passed 3-1, or it's 20-year, option 3.
Okay, now we're at,
Can I ask a question, though? When this does come back, can we have very clearly identify those items that are optional to be included as part of the overall financing? Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, can you say that again?
When it comes back, I guess, with the finance plan, that they outline all the options that are available in order to reduce that loan amount, and I assume you're going with the 28 million, to where we could reduce it if we choose not to reimburse certain funds.
So you're talking about, it could be the amount that we leave in reserves. It could also mean the amount that are the optional items on the construction project itself.
All those things listed to where, you know, we have, maybe instead of a $28 million loan, maybe we cut it down to a $23 million, based on the decisions, the policy decisions the council makes.
Thank you.
Please.
I hope that's not a million scenario for you.
Well, and it may be that we do those at different times. Because,
Okay.
for example, I think the reserve discussion may need to take place a little bit later when we get into the rate study, as opposed to the construction award is going to be coming to you guys pretty soon. And so one of the initial decisions will be made is, okay, we've got a maximum project of $20 million, but we've got some optional ones, we've got some added alternates that you could immediately take that down and reduce $1 million off the top. So that would be the first one. And then later, we could introduce some of the other options. Is that, I don't know that we'll be ready with all of the options at the construction award.
Definitely, but I want to bring back this graph that you saw with a couple more options, as Councilmember Campion indicated, just to show you which direction it's moving, and of course, it's going to be moving down. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. We know these are difficult decisions.
Well, it seems like it's been government philosophy to always, what's the phrase, kick the can down the road.
Down the road another 10 years.
Hasn't worked really great
Right.
from my point of view, so
I agree.
we are where we are.
You heard that we have the basic plant, not the new tertiary that went in a few years ago, but the fundamental treatment plant is approaching that 25-plus year mark, and you heard, 25 to 30 years is the typical life expectancy. Built into this project are several $1 million worth of replacing motors and controls and electrical systems that have reached, we're doing that as part of each upgrade as we go back to, this is just wore out. Doesn't make sense not to fix that while we have the plant down and drained and are working. Let's go ahead and replace that motor, that pump, that aerator.
Well, we can discuss that when that happens.
Okay. We're at award of contract for the State Route 99 Central Galt Interchange Landscaping Improvements Phase 1.
Madam Mayor and council members, this is our final item for the night for Public Works, and we're pleased to announce that we have received favorable bids on the next phase of the Central Galt Interchange project, and we've got 3 recommendations related to awarding that contract. We're recommending that we do award it to the lowest responsible and responsive bidder, which is Pacific Parks Landscaping, in a base award amount of $480,000. and that we approve an additional 10% contingency on that amount for unforeseen project changes that may arise during construction. To fund that, we basically have the funds primarily in place, but we'll need an additional $33,000 from our Measure A fund balance to make that project whole based on the current budget. And then we're asking that you, as usual, authorize the Public Works Director to accept the improvements and issue a notice of completion at the end upon satisfactory completion of work. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions, council?
If I may.
Okay. Do you?
Mr. Winkler, I looked through this and of your designation of subcontractors you have in here, traffic control at $12,245. Can you tell me how why is it so much, first off?
Well, actually, for a 45-day freeway construction project on multiple roadways of an interchange, that actually is a lot of money for lane closures and advanced signboards and all the flagmen that would be used. When you have high-speed traffic, you can't just let the cars whiz by right next to where you're working. So typically, you have to probably do on intermittent basis lane closures on Highway 99, certainly lane closures up above when they're trenching and pulling conduit and pulling wires. We'll be doing that. And so what that is a shared cost with the contractor, where the city pays half of a number of those traffic control flagmen in particular. We cost share on those costs. They have listed a subcontractor. They would bring somebody in to do all of that. The other vendors didn't necessarily. Some of them do it with their own forces, some use a sub. So what you're seeing in their proposal, they're required to list any subcontractor that is doing more than 0.5% of the work. They listed only one, and that's a subcontractor to do all these message boards, signboards, coning, flagman, traffic control type things. So I don't consider that over a 45-day construction period to be a particularly high number for this type of work.
Well, I'm talking about the average citizen then, somebody who doesn't deal with these numbers, okay?
Well, that's to get about $500,000 worth of work done, $12,000 of safety and traffic control.
Okay. Also on here it says that staff check parks, landscaping bid packet, construction history and license, and determine the bid is responsive and the company is responsible. How are the references checked on these companies, and this one in particular? Because I know we just started some new bid format for bids.
Right, and in that this was a fairly simple, straightforward landscaping. We're not building anything. We don't have any structures. We don't have any wastewater treatment plant type things. We did not put a lot of pre-qualification language into this. A lot of your landscape type contractors aren't as sophisticated as the large general construction engineering firms. So what we did require that they submit 10 references of similar sized, similar type projects that we could then go and determine if they were had been responsive on those projects or had problems. We also talked to their bonding companies and looked at their bonding history for default on bonds. We checked out their contractor's license to make sure they were current, didn't have any claims or complaints filed with them.
Or anything pending?
Right. To the extent that we can find that out, then the public contract code limits things you could use to throw out a otherwise responsive bidder. But we've done our due diligence, including talking to a Caltrans freeway type project. They did 4 Caltrans, and we got good reports back on type work. Most of their larger projects are done on private development, whether it be in subdivisions or maybe a large, ballpark type complex, but they have done work for Caltrans doing landscaping.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Winkler.
Councilmember Payne? Nothing? Okay, can I have a okay.
Move for approval.
Okay.
Second.
Call for the vote, please, Liz.
Vice Mayor Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
Aye.
Mayor Powers?
Aye.
Good.
Passed unanimously. Thank you. So we're gonna adjourn now to the Galt City Council, and convene to the Galt Successor Agency. Roll call, please, Liz.
Board Member Singleton?
Here.
Payne?
Here.
Campion? Here. Cruz? Powers?
Here. Is there any public comment?
I have no speakers.
Okay, the information and consent calendar, the minutes of the April 15th, 2014 meeting, and the successor agency warrants. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second?
Call for the vote, please.
Board Members Singleton?
Aye.
Payne?
Aye.
Campion?
Aye.
Powers?
Aye. Okay, now we're going to adjourn the Galt Successor Agency and reconvene to the Galt City Council. You've already done your report, but do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Just a few reminders. On May 7th, there's a Parks and Recreation Commission meeting at 7 p.m. in the council chambers. The Planning Commission meeting was canceled. Is that correct? There's a beautification meeting on May 15th at 3:30 p.m. in the City Hall Community Room, and that brings us to our next City Council meeting.
Okay. Comments by staff?
Well, you all by now, I'm sure, are aware we had a very successful Love Galt opportunity here a week ago, and got a lot of projects, about over 100 trees planted, and got the Chabola Hills, as we're calling there, where Chabola meets Lincoln, got about 175 cubic yards of bark spread by volunteers. And we also got the aquatic center fence painted all the way around the center there. So we were just thrilled to have a great turnout of, I believe, about 100 volunteers. And then some more came out on Sunday from both the Latter-day LDA as well as the Seventh-day Adventist Church came out. And appreciate that. Also would like to share we are about to see the beginning of the end on Twin Cities Road construction. Within the next week to 10 days, we'll start to get the pavement down, and then we'll be on the cusp of trying to get things reopened and get some of the detours eliminated that the patient businesses have been anxiously awaiting, but we are probably still a couple weeks away from full opening up there. But once the pavement starts, I think we can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Anyone else over here? You were putting your little thingy down.
Real quick announcement, and that is that the other day we did send out the RFP for the new zoning ordinance comprehensive update. So we should be expecting those in by the end of the month, and to get that to you for hopefully approval of the contract in June, and get work on that.
Thank you. Armando, you've been sitting there all by yourself being quiet. Nice to see you. Jason or Steve? Liz, you look like you forgot something?
I did. Just a very successful shredded event, e-waste event by chance, and drug drop-off event at the market last Saturday. And a lot of people involved, and I believe it was all very successful.
Councilmember Campion.
I'm good.
Councilmember Payne.
Well, we had a successful Day as a Child event at the library. As usual, it was a beautiful day with lots of kids running around doing lots of things, lots of volunteers. Again, the youth committee participated. They all got a free book to take home with them. The little ones did, not the big ones.
What was the name of the book, Barbara?
I didn't get that.
Oh, were you passing them out or no?
No. We were there for the Community Character Coalition, and we had a beanbag throw, and we gave away balloons, and the helium ran out, and we were blowing them up the old-fashioned way. So I'm blessed a lot with hot air, believe it or not. Anyway, that was very nice, very successful. And I did want to mention for the community garden that Russ Flutie, some of you may know him, put on our city's homepage a progress report for the community garden. You're looking at me funny, Liz. Why?
It was on the homepage. For some reason, it's not right now, but I will be looking into that.
Okay.
And hopefully it will be back there.
Yeah, they met Sunday, we met Sunday with some consultants to, lay out the community garden, and so, you know,
Great, good. But we like that community involvement, that's good news, yes, we've been having a lot, and that's great. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Last Thursday, I went up to Sacramento, the Sacramento, Police Officer and Sheriff's Memorial. I met there with Lieutenant Basuzzi and Lieutenant Kalinowski. I went up with the chief, and actually happened to meet with Senator Kathleen Galgiani, our state representative for the Senate. This is my fourth year, and this one was special because they actually put up a plaque on, I think it's a bobber, is what they call it, I can't remember, for fallen officer Kevin Ton. Very moving, very special event, so I was happy to attend that. And I want to thank the lieutenant. If you please thank the others, Officer Coelho, Fisher, I think Slater was there, and the others. And actually, I forgot to mention our new officer, Officer Bash, did the song for the flag, the national anthem. Thank you. I'm sorry. She was very nervous, but she did a fine job. Let's see. I went to a chamber luncheon and met with Liberty Ranch Sam Beltry. He was a speaker there. It was interesting. It was good for him to reach out and talk to some of the folks in the city here and let them know his project views. That went well. I've been busy. Business Builders Mixer, I went to that at Biagio's. And that was very well attended, which I was really happy to see. Let's see, cast meeting, which Ms. Payne's there. We went over childhood of BCD. And we also talked about our additional SRO officer and how we're going to fund that. Or actually, it was the funding we are going to be getting, I believe it is, from the school districts. And then we also had a PAL Visionary meeting, but we'll be bringing that to council in June to let you know where we're at in our vision. We had Lieutenant Basuzzi again. We've been keeping him busy, and Lieutenant Kalinowski and the chief and several others from the city staff. And in the community, we gave them a projected view of what we'd like to see go on with PAL and what we plan on doing with our Police Activities League here in Galt. That's it. Thank you.
That's it. Yeah, you have been busy.
I've been busy.
I just want to say that I hope we see some of you out there at the Harvey Park on Saturday. I'll be there helping, and with that, we're done. Oh,
yes.
Happy Mother's Day.